to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Matrix, and Whisperer.
Yes, g'day everybody, and welcome back to another Insight NRL show. It's that time of the week again. It is Thursday, and I'm here to deliver the Insight Unlimited Q&A podcast, where all of the Insight Unlimited members inside the Discord get the chance to ask any questions they like about their team, captains, trades, you name it, we cover it. So this is the episode for that. And of course, the episode is brought to you by Insight Unlimited. If you'd like to become a member of Insight Unlimited, you can. All you need to do is jump in the Discord and get in touch, or send one of us a DM, Whisperer, myself, Matrix, and we'll point you in the right direction. It only costs you $25 for the whole year. And that gets you access to our final trades, our final teams, our captains' thoughts, and a lot of other exclusive content, some Q&As inside the Discord, stats and spreadsheets, and much more. And of course, that isn't just for NRL. It gives you access to AFL, NBA Fantasy, NBL, and BBL Supercoach as well, with all of our team of experts inside the Discord. So jump in and get involved. Now, of course, we are here to answer all the questions from the Discord from the Unlimited members. So let's jump into that, shall we? Now, the first question, and I have a feeling we might get a couple of questions about Jaden Brailey here. Zero Static is wanting to know, is Jaden Brailey a legitimate hooker 2 option over Origin with the Knights draw? Now, we've talked a lot about the Knights draw and how we like it and like what it looks like. If we bring up the draw very quickly, hopefully the Knights are here. Yep. So basically we're looking at round 7 onwards, and we can see that the Knights draw frees up very nicely. We can see that they've got obviously the Bulldogs this week away. They've got the Dolphins, which are 2 very nice matchups. They've got the Warriors, but it is at home. Warriors, we know, are definitely not as good at away from home. So that's an advantage there for the Knights. And then they've got the Tigers into the Gold Coast Titans. So 4 very favourable matchups out of the next 5 games into their bye-in round 12, which isn't ideal. But again, I think you've just got to be taking these matchups and running with them, I think. And I think what we saw from Jaden Brailey is that his minutes have started to increase, which is great. Obviously, he's starting now. He played 71 minutes last week, which is fantastic. He only scored 42. But in saying that, it's positive signs. And I think the minutes are the big thing. Jaden Brailey's never been a big PPM guy historically throughout his whole career. So we're not expecting anything to change, especially coming off an ACL. But in saying that, I think you could do much worse with Brailey. If we search his price very quickly, I'm pretty sure that he's very close to bottoming out. He's at 311K. He's got a break even of 16. So basically, this is the cheapest you're going to get Jaden Brailey right now. So if you did want to do a little Danny Levi to Jaden Brailey move this week, it might be the move, especially with the nice draw. It doesn't necessarily affect a hooker that much. When we're looking at draws, if anything, it might hurt a hooker, especially one that's not really attacking minded. Jaden Brailey is a very defensive hooker. He's going to be getting the ball into Hastings' hands more often than not, or Cogger. So, I don't know whether the draw is an advantage too much to a guy like Brailey, but in saying that, I think he has bottomed out in price. So he's probably a pretty good target moving forward. Now, Clarky5185 is asking what my thoughts are on CNK for a couple of weeks as a pod, and I love it. We spoke a little bit in the Discord as well as on the podcast on Tuesday about Chance Nickel-Klukstad, and he's looked great since he's come back. He's had 2 games and he scored incredibly well. He is on the bubble. So if we look up where he's at right now, he's at 682K with a 25 break even. His first 2 games of the season, he's gone 88 and 96 without a try. And let me tell you, for you fantasy heads or anybody playing Dream Team, I think he's nearly a must-have with the amount of run meters he has had. He had 57 points in pure run stats, 50 points in hit-ups over 8 meters last game, and 7 in hit-ups under 8 meters. No errors. He had a line break in there as well, but didn't obviously score a try, but no attacking stats at all aside from that line break. 18 points in tackle breaks. Chance Nickel-Klukstad is a genuinely fantastic option. I think if you're looking for a pod at fullback, it's a shame he's not center wing. Otherwise, I think he'd probably be 50% owned. But Yeah, he's a great shout, and I do like it. And obviously, with the Warriors draw coming up as well, they've got the Dragons, the Titans, and the Newcastle Knights. So the Knights game will be away, which isn't ideal, but the Dragons and Titans match up. I tell you, I'll be watching through the slits of my fingers with CNK and SJ and those guys, because this could be it could be a huge game. So I like it. Brent has a couple of questions back to back, so we'll cover them. Do you think Schiller gets dropped? The one thing we haven't talked about is his defensive liability. So he's conceded 4 tries on his wing in 2 games, but obviously it's not his defense everyone's looking at, it's his attack, and he's scoring incredibly well for Supercoach purposes. But the big news, obviously, out of Canberra, unfortunately, is that Schiller, well, for Canberra anyway, is that Schiller is moving on. He's going to Newcastle next year, which I find a little bit of a strange signing considering. But regardless, I'm a little bit concerned now about his job security, especially with Ricky Stewart. We know that if someone's moving on, are you really going to play him if you have to? That pretty much automatically opens the door now for Hopewadi next week to come straight back into this team if he's fit. And we will probably see Schiller drop out of this team purely due to the fact that he's moving on next season. So we're lucky enough to have him this week. Hopewadi isn't in the reserves at the moment. So I'd say we probably are safe enough to get him this week. But I would say I wouldn't be counting on him from future weeks from round 8 onwards. I'd say we're going to be moving him on, and let's just hope we can move him on for near 500k if he scores well again this weekend. Brent also asking, what's going on with Harry Grant? A lot of money to pay for someone who isn't delivering. And as a Harry Grant owner, I feel this one in my soul. This is the first year that I actually have bought Harry Grant from the start of the season. Usually I fade him because of the price, and every year he hurts me. So I thought, you know what, just going to bank him, pay the $750, get the best hooker in the game, and just hope for the best. And hopefully his scores can carry me through. And it's been the opposite of that. He's gone 49, 61, 63, 79, 48. And whilst we shouldn't complain about 60s and 70s, we're paying for a 75 average. At this point, he's averaging 60 on the dot. So we're basically 150k down on our initial investment in what we paid for. So it is a little bit disappointing. In saying that, he's still averaging 60. It's not the end of the world. With the Melbourne Storm's draw opening up as well, he plays the Roosters. He's got Souths. And then you've got the Gold Coast Titans, Sharks, Para, Manly. So not really one hard game out of the next 6 for Harry Grant. So I'm really hoping that he starts to kind of drive up that scoring leading into Origin. Also, one thing to note is that Nelson Asofa Solomona is back this week, and he plays a really big part in Harry Grant's scoring. I'd be very interested to see actually what his scoring looks like with Nas in the team versus without him. Might do a little bit of digging after I finish recording. But yeah, I think we need to stick strong with Harry. At the end of the day, it might be a trade out through Origin because he normally is. But in saying that, if you can get a Harry Grant and a Jeremy Marshall-King combo or something like that coming into Origin, you might not need to trade Harry Grant, and you can just hold him there for the season and save some trades. So yeah, it is disappointing with Harry, but he still is averaging 60. So I don't think there's any need to panic just yet. And last one from Brent, is it time to accept that Nicho Hynes is not a permanent captain option anymore? Is it Trindle or is it something else? And I guess, yes, it is. It's time to accept that Nicho Hynes is not a permanent captain option. He's in my team this week, but I don't have a captaincy on him. I don't have a VC or a C. I think it is Trindle. I think Trindle's such a ball-dominant half, and the reality is that they're going down the left a lot, and it looks like Nicho Hynes is doing a little bit less roaming this year. We haven't seen him going left to right too often this year, unfortunately, and it is concerning, obviously, from a Supercoach output perspective, but when we think about it, he still scored 82 last week. I mean, yes, we're probably not going to see the heights of the 94, 95 average from the season's gone, but we might still see a 75 to 82 average. And at the end of the day, yeah, that's not what we paid for, but is it enough to trade him out? I don't think it is. If you've got Nicho Hynes right now, I genuinely don't think it's enough to trade him out, but I also don't know whether it's enough to trade him in. So for owners, I guess the message is hold strong. But for anybody who's looking to buy someone, you could probably get a little bit more value out of an SJ with their run over the next 6 weeks. So yeah, food for thought there with that one. All right, we've got Bray 888 is asking, is trading Dylan Brown to Inari Martin worth a boost? Feeling behind on cash gen with only 12.445 million in value. The Warriors have a great draw the next 6 weeks and can go back to Brown when Moses is back. Now, bit of a tricky one, this one, because I Now that we're getting to a point where I feel like Dylan Brown has bottomed out in price. I traded him 2 weeks ago, so I'm glad I haven't copped those big cash losses. He's down to 631K with a 52 break even. I can't see him not hitting that 52. When we look at the scores that he's had this year, he has only scored once under 52, and that was against the Tigers, ironically. So I think if you have Dylan Brown, you've just got to hold now. They play round 13, which is the first major bye, which is important as well. And they also play round 19. So, for me, obviously he's a Kiwi. He's not playing Origin. So I think Dylan Brown's probably a hold if you've held him this long. I know Inari Martin's cash is definitely enticing, but you've also got to think, how many trades do I have in the bank? Can I afford to spend 2 trades to get Inari Martin in and then obviously get Dylan Brown back in later? So that's a question you need to ask yourself. How many boosts have I used? How many trades have I used? Is that worth a boost? No, that's my answer. I don't think that's worth a boost at all. All right. Bray is also asking, everyone's talking about Gus, Crichton, and Sean Bloor. And but what about Cory Waddell? Now, Cory Waddell has been fantastic in his last 3 games. He's got a 3-round average of 54. No Burbo for 3 weeks with that hamstring injury. We've also got no shoot. That 3-round average of 54 included a 30-minute bench stint as well. So, Cory Waddell, fantastic option, I think, for a short-term play. Now, if you're expecting to have Cory Waddell in round 19, 20 for the run home, I think you're mistaken. I don't think that's a good idea. I think Burbo, obviously they're going to be cautious with Burbo's rehab. They're looking at obviously a 3-week return to play. It's only a grade 1 hamstring, but it is the hamstring that he has torn 4 times or strained 4 times in the last season and a half. So there's got to be some form of care there or a little bit of extended rehab potentially. So it's hard to go on normal guidelines for those injuries. But yeah, if say Burbo is back in 3 weeks, Cory Waddell potentially could even drop back to the bench. And then that's just not a guy you want in your team. So Cory Waddell for a short play, absolutely, like it. But Gus Crichton and Sean Bloor are season-long plays. So I'm still picking Waddell as the number 3 out of those 2 guys. I would prefer Bloor and Gus over Cory Waddell long term. If you've got a million bloody trades up your sleeve and you haven't boosted much this year, go nuts. If you want to chase Waddell, you might make a little bit of cash over the next fortnight, 3 weeks. We've got Rawi Greenwall, who is the biggest must-have out of Bloor and Gus, and is Gus a genuine state of origin threat? Now, yeah, there's a few questions around Angus Crichton, essentially, and we all know the quality of Angus Crichton. We all know the fact that he is an Australian edge back rower. That he is probably a top 3 2RF in the competition when we're talking about Gus Crichton at his best, and we're starting to see a little bit of that again. So, who's the biggest must-have out of Bloor and Gus? The answer is Gus. Without a doubt in my mind. But obviously, the chance of him playing State of Origin also starts to cloud that. Sean Bloor won't be playing Origin, obviously. But it looks like Sean Bloor's won the left edge spot over Joe Chan. Joe Chan's on the bench this week, and picking any 2RF outside of Cam Munster is definitely an attractive prospect. Unless your name's Trent Liero from last year. But yeah, Sean Bloor's shown that he's probably won that spot. Now, the question now becomes, if you think that Gus is going to become a New South Wales Blues 2RF this year, then we lose him for the majors, the major buys, and then he becomes a backup risk of lack of backing up too, which isn't ideal. But I think he is still good enough to buy right now, and I think he's still a better option than getting Sean Bloor. Angus Crichton minus 22 break even. So at the moment, if you don't get him this week and he comes and pumps an 80, he is going to make, I would say, close to 70K. And he's going to be 530K next week. Now, 530K can very quickly turn into 600K if he keeps up this scoring within the next 3 weeks. So at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, if he gets to Origin, right, and he gets picked for Origin, he will miss round 13 for the Roosters. He will miss round 16. Obviously, he's going to miss round 19 anyway, because that's when the Roosters have their bye. So he will miss 2 out of those 3 major buys, which isn't ideal. But at the end of the day, it is your best 13 players in the major buy rounds, 13, 16, and 19. So you don't need your full 17. You only need 13 players. So am I now panicking about whether Gus is going to get picked for Origin? I don't think so. For me, I'm still buying him. I'm still buying him confidently. If he gets picked, that's fine. I think he is a top 4 2RF for the season if we can hold him for the year, regardless of whether Origin comes around or not. if you're talking total points, I actually still probably think that Gus outscores Blore from here to the season's end anyway, regardless of Origin. He's only going to miss 2 games from Origin. He probably will back up. So I think he will score more over the rest of the season compared to Blore. Tad HG0, would you be trading in Inari Martin? Was thinking of getting rid of Blaze Talangi from center wing and moving Strange down. I think this is a great play. I mean, if you don't have to boost for it, great. I mean, even if you have to boost for it, I'm not opposed to it, depending on obviously how many boosts you actually have left. Would you be trading into Inari Martin? I mean, why wouldn't you? The scores for him to start the season have been outstanding. I think he's got an 80 and a 70 to start the year. Obviously, being on this Waz side, who are playing some outstanding football at the moment, they've got a really nice draw coming up as well. We're talking about SJ as well and CNK, but they've got St. George into the Gold Coast Titans the next 2 weeks. The Dragons have been playing decent footy, but this one, and it is at Wynn Stadium, not ideal, but they've got Gold Coast into Newcastle, who have both had question marks around them. The Roosters definitely not at their best. And they've got the Panthers in round 11, but then they've got the Dolphins in round 12. So they've got a nice little run coming up. Inari Martin is definitely a guy that I'm toying around with at the moment. And if we find that Taylor May is out a little bit closer to the Penrith game, hopefully we find out Friday at 3 p.m. when they do the 24-hour cut for the Panthers. And if Taylor May is out, I'm probably going to boost Taylor May to Inari Martin and just drop Strange down. So I'm all for this move. I'm thinking about something very similar myself. Edge. Hopefully is it the wrestler? I don't know. If you had to pick one to go early on, am I picking Jai Gray or am I picking Chevy Stewart? Now, the word from Jason Demetriou, and I'm really, really trying to be wary of how much stock I put in Jason Demetriou's words at the moment, considering his job is on the line, has come out and said that Jai Gray could potentially win that fullback spot if he plays some good football over the next fortnight. Now, that's great. Over the next week. Well, they've got the bye this week. So, not ideal. I hate going early on a guy on the bye. So my pick here would be Chevy Stewart purely because he's playing this week. And you're going to get him on the bubble next week. So you're going to make cash a little bit earlier rather than Jai Gray. You're going to have to wait another fortnight to actually make money. Who do I like better as a player? I mean, look, if they've got Jai Gray at the back, he was awesome in their game last week. He was fantastic. So I think in terms of passing the eye test, I think I'd prefer Gray as a player. But in terms of a Supercoach prospect, I think Chevy Stewart probably has a little bit more job security there with Jordan Rapiner out for an extended period of time. They do obviously have the risk there potentially of Sebastian Kris dropping back to fullback and shuffling a few things around to keep potentially Schiller in the team. But now that Schiller's been signed to leave at the end of the year, I think they're probably just going to go back to Hopewadi on the wing and they're going to leave Chevy Stewart at the back and blood him in for a few weeks. So I'd say I'd probably pick Chevy Stewart. But maybe to preface this or to confirm my thoughts, I'm probably not going early on either. If that's my answer, I hate going early on players. It's bitten me in the arse in the past. I went early on Jacob Carraz last year, and then he ended up injured the week after. And I can't remember what it did his elbow, I think it was. And then I actually ended up trading him in for 1 week without even getting a score from him and trading him back out. So yeah, I'd bit burnt by going early. So I'd probably advise against it. Isaac, is it worth using my last boost to go May to Garrick or Dallin Zalesniak? Mate, I reckon you're gonna really regret using your last boost. I think this is this could be I understand we're trying to attack the Manly and New Zealand matchups this week with New Zealand playing against the Dragons and Manly playing against the Gold Coast Titans. I understand the move. I feel like having a boost during at least the Origin period is an advantage. Purely because and we have to look at what happened at the end of last year, right? Last year was an absolute shit show for round 27, where we saw a lot of teams get caught out. We saw the leader of NRL Supercoach unfortunately drop down to like 11th overall and get beaten in the end when he led all year because he got caught short at the end of the season, like most of us, with only like 12 active players or something. It was a bloodbath. So I would recommend holding that last boost. I think, yes, I understand using 3 to set your team up at the start of the year is completely fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I'm potentially in the same boat, but I'm going to be holding at least 1 for the Origin period and I'm going to be holding 1 for the final rounds. Whether I use that in the round 24 or whether I hold it to round 27. I'll make that decision later, but I definitely want 2 in my pocket come round 13. If you're set hell-bent on using your last boost and you need to go May to someone, I would pick Dallin this week over Garrick, purely just from break-even and money purposes. Garrick might score well, don't get me wrong. Manly could put 40 on the Titans, but I think Dallin could be the play this week. There's every chance that he shreds that, that left edge of the Dragons. So Dallin's my pick. Now, Bobby Boucher, what are we doing with Danny Levi? Would have to boost to trade him out, and using a boost to Brailey seems unnecessary. And I confirm, I agree. I'm in the same thinking as you, mate. I believe Danny Levi now he becomes a bit of an AE nightmare, but we knew this, didn't we? Like, we knew this like a month ago. He's just been scoring tries and propping up his cash. And now that he hasn't scored a try, everybody's starting to panic. I think Danny Levi's a luxury trade at this point, especially this week with all these cash gen opportunities. We've got Iro, we've got Inari Martin, we've got Gus Crichton, we've got Lockie Galvin if you don't have him. We've got so many massive negative break-evens. We've got Chevy Stewart next week. We've got Harley Smith-Shields isn't a bad shout. So you've got so many cash gen opportunities. I genuinely don't think this week is the week to trade out Brailey. To trade out Danny Levi. Brailey can wait a week. He's not going to go and score 80 this week, I don't think. His break even is 17, I think, Brailey. So at worst case, he scores 50 and you've got to pay an extra 20 odd K to get him. Not the end of the world by any means. And I think Danny Levi is probably a future problem. Prioritize your cash gen this week when we get these cheapies on the bubble. Second solution, how many keepers do you have in your team at this point? If I look at my team, I think I counted 11 roughly. So Harry Grant, obviously a keeper. I consider Josh Curran and Terrell May probably both keepers as well. Not premium keepers, but both keepers and will do a job for me. They're both averaging 60 on the season. There's no reason to trade at anybody averaging above 60. I've got Eli Katoa. I've got Kai Pearce-Paul, who I probably consider a keeper as well. Gus Crichton, I consider a keeper. That's 6. Nico Hines and Nathan Cleary in my team. That's 8. And then I've got Val Holmes, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. They're probably both keepers. So that's 10. And Turbo and Ponga. So I've got 12. I've got 12 keepers at the moment. Obviously the goal by the end of the season is to try and get maybe around 19 to 20 keepers. That way, then you've got your bench options and your start sit options, and they're still relatively strong. That's probably where I would sit. And I think I'm pretty happy with my team. I haven't gone and traded out Cleary or made too many drastic moves. I've still got 3 boosts up my sleeve and 33 trades after trades this week. So I still feel pretty good about where I'm at. My team value is 12.811 mil. So I feel like I'm a little bit behind. I think if you're, and this is probably to answer Tad HG's question, what's a good team value and a good number of trades left to have at this time of the year? I think if you're sitting around that 33 mark, you've probably max traded for the most part and you've used 2 boosts. But I think if you've used 2 or 3 boosts and you've still got a couple left and you're sitting around that 32, 33, I think you're okay. There's obviously been a bit going on in terms of trades and moves and teams and changes to teams and cheapies not being named and everything else. So we've had to pivot and use a fair few trades to start the season. But I think if you're around the 13 mil mark for team value, I think you're in a pretty good spot. If we very quickly look at the rankings for this year so far, you've got Mark the Chook Pen, who's leading at the moment. So his value is 13 million, pretty much on the dot. Then second is 13. Benji's Believers, Jamie in third, is at 13.6 million, is massive. So that's going to help him later on in the season, I think. And he's only 20 points behind first. So I think we're looking at around that 13 mil mark is probably a happy spot to be. If you're not there, I'd be prioritizing cash gen to try and get above that 13.5 mark as quick as you possibly can. And I think this is the week to do it. Pitbull is asking, would you use your 4th boost on a luxury upgrade like Turbo to AFB, Hutchison to SJ, or Bostock to Garrick? Alternatively, he could hold the boost and do Bostock and Schiller to Cleary and Marju next week. Now, the 4th boost, look, I'm not opposed to it. I would rather hold it personally. I think if you're working with 1 boost for the rest of the season and it's round 7, I think you're going to regret it. But in saying that, I've always been one to hold my trades and make sure I play Supercoach relatively conservatively. So you're not going to see me throwing trades and boost left, right, and center and be out of boost by round 9. That's just not the way I play the game. So would I use my fourth boost on any of those moves when I could get Cleary and Marju next week? No. I would do Bostock and Schiller to Cleary and Marju next week as a priority. I think with this setup as well. I think in the original question it said that he had 500k freed up. So I'd use that 500k next week and prioritize getting Nathan Cleary in. And then if you can get Greg Marju, it looks like Greg Marju is actually going to bottom out next week or the week after. He's got 130 odd break even this week, I think, from memory. So we could, or 150. So we could actually see Marju sub 650 this week as a minimum. And when you're picking up Marju around that low 600 mark, I tell you, that is incredible value, pending that he ends up on the left wing. Now, Barry Toohey has come out on Twitter and said he would be very surprised if he didn't see Greg Marju on the left wing this week. So that's definitely one to watch. And if we see him on the left and we see the base numbers increase and we see Kalen Ponga playing, sweeping through the left-hand side like we saw a lot of last year, with the Newcastle Knights draw coming up, Greg Marju will be a fantastic target. Agent Cheese, how many potential Origin players is too many? With the best 13, it obviously helps, but is there a number that we should be wary of? Look, in the Supercoach app, it'll show you when you look into your team and stuff, and you go to the bottom, it says playing in the buy rounds, and you can actually see how many players you have available for each buy round. At the moment, I've got 18 available for round 13. Now, obviously, this doesn't factor in State of Origin players. So if I say 18, then I'm minus Grant. Let's just say Gus Crichton plays. I'm minus Gus Crichton. I'm minus Cleary. And let's just say Nico plays. I'm minus Nico. I'm minus Val Holmes. I'm minus Turbo. And God knows if Ponga plays, I'm minus Ponga. So there's 7 players right there I'm about to lose to Origin, which leaves me with 11. So I would assume for the most part, we're going to see, if I had more than 20 players available in 1 week, I'd say that's too many, especially in a buy round, because that does mean then you're going to suffer in the future buy rounds, and you're probably going to have to pull some boosts or max trade through the Origin period to make sure that you can fill your best 13. I would be aiming to have anywhere between 13 to 15 available for each major buy round. And you only need to focus on the 13 and 16 to start. Don't worry about 19. You can trade your way to numbers in 19. That's not an issue. I think from round 9, I'm going to start thinking about what my round 13 numbers look like and what my structure or my trade system looks like for that buy period, because that's usually when I make my move every year. So yeah, I would say if you've got 20 available, have a look in the app. If you've got 20 available for round 13, have a look at how many Origin players that is. And if you're uncomfortable with the amount of people, if you've got 15 available, 15 or 16 players available, I think you're in a pretty good spot. Any more than that, I think it's probably unnecessary discounting Origin players. Mr. Callio, last question here. We've got Strange or Schiller over Lane. I'm assuming that we're talking about start-sit question here. So would you play Strange or would you play Schiller over Lane? Lane against the Dolphins could snag a meat pie. I am playing Sean Lane this week purely for that reason. I was initially getting a bit frustrated with him and considering him a trade-out option. But then when you look at the Dolphins this week, it's hard to move him on this week. But I tell you, they've got the Broncos into the Melbourne Storm round 10 and 11, and they've got the bye in round 9. So I think Sean Lane could be a trade-out option in round 9 after he plays Manly. So I'd probably hold Lane and play him this week. If you're not playing him this week, just trade the bloke. Honestly, like this is the best matchup to have for him. I would be playing him this week, or I'd be trading him out. That's probably the best way to answer that. And that brings us to the end, guys. That are all the questions. We get a ton of questions every single week. And of course, if you want your questions answered, we can of course do that for you if you become an Insight Unlimited member. And it only costs $25. Just a reminder, jump in the Discord as well as hit subscribe and like if you do like the content. We're coming to you with 4 episodes every single week. We've got Buy, Hold, Sell. We talk captains on Tuesday night. We do the TLT, the big long live, where we answer all the live questions as well. And of course, we do a Sunday wrap up every week as well. So we appreciate all the love and all the questions. Of course, keep them coming in and join the Discord regardless. It is a free server. Obviously, if you're an unlimited member, you get access to extra channels and some exclusive stuff, but jump in the free Discord. The link is in the description below. And thanks to the sponsors of the show, of course, it's the Standard Squeeze. You can go to thestandardsqueeze.com and you can use the code INSIGHT15 to go and get yourself 15% off everything in store over there, thanks to the Standard Squeeze. They've got, the code's IFS15. And you can go and get yourself 4-in-1 mugs. You can go and get yourself the little combo packs that measure out the perfect pour for you if you're traveling and you're going to fishing or you're going camping or something like that and you don't want to break glass bottles. So the standard squeeze are fantastic. And of course, we've got Ryan from Astute Newstead as well. If your interest rates on your home loan are above 6.2%, then Ryan can definitely do better for you. Or maybe you want to go and renovate your house and you need a little bit of extra cash in your pocket to help make that happen. So contact Ryan. His link tree is in the description below where you can get in contact with him and just let him know that we sent you from the Insight Fantasy Sports podcast, and he will look after you and it won't cost you a thing. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck this week. Let's hope for plenty of green arrows again coming into round 7. We'll see you on Sunday night for the weekly wrap-up. Matrix and myself. Josh is away for the next week. So we'll see you on Sunday. All the best this week. Catch you later.